Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine. And today we're welcome with TNA Original, the king of TNA, Mr. Frankie Kazarian. How we doing, man?
I'm doing really well, man. Thank you for having me. How you doing?
I'm excited. Like I told you off air, this is one I never thought I'd get. So I'm excited, ready to get the ball rolling, ready to come out hot with the questions.
Cool, man. Let's do it.
So I'm gonna start off. You took a break from TNA for a while. You went to Ring of Honor. You went to AEW. After AEW didn't pan out, you left. Was your first idea to come to TNA, or was you weighing your options and trying to see what to do next?
Well, I mean, I came back to TNA and kind of dipped my toes in the water while I was still with AEW in the summer of 2022. I'd done some stuff leading up to Slammiversary of that year and a big match with Chris Sabin. And then later that year, came back and wrestled Speedball Mike Bailey at Bound for Glory and won the X Division title and had a title match against Josh Alexander. I did that all under contract of AEW when we were kind of doing a bit of a talent exchange thing. But at that time, it really opened my eyes that TNA was had an amazing roster and was doing some really pretty special things, and it really kind of made me think, wow, this is a place that maybe I could come back to. Uh, but when I left AEW, I certainly there was no deal in place. There was no discussions. My first priority was making sure I was free and clear of my AEW responsibilities, and then seeing what happened. And it just so happened that TNA, which was being run by Scott D'Amore at the time, who's a friend and a colleague, they had a pay-per-view coming up, and I told him my situation, and we put together a deal very, very quickly. And I returned in January 2023 in center stage right there in Atlanta. And it's been, my timing for once in my career was great. And it's been a great, almost 3 years ever since. And to see where TNA is right now is really, really vindicates that I made the right choice.
So, like I told you off air, you were uh, somebody that I really enjoyed watching, especially you debuted in TNA in 2003. So I watched you in TNA my entire childhood. Um, Being a part of that version of TNA, seeing what it became, and now coming back, what are some of the biggest difference between the current version of TNA and the original version of TNA?
I mean, the business itself is so different between 2003 and now. There's a lot of differences, but the one, the one similarity I will say is the strength of our locker room, the hard work of our locker room. Whereas, back in the day, it was along with myself, it was Amazing Red and Jerry Lynn and AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels and the Machine Guns. Where now it's a Leon Slater, a Mustafa Ali, a Nick Nemeth, Steve Macklin, and Eric Young, and Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and Moose. All and now with the addition of the knockouts. I mean, when I started here, talk about a huge difference. The knockouts division wasn't a thing. You know, we
Mhm.
had we had there was basically Goldilocks, and we had two other women. One of them you might know, she became my wife, Tracy Brooks, the original knockout. But there was like three girls here in the company at like in 2003. And now look at our locker room is full of incredible young women. Our knockout division is great and is flourishing, and that's because of those pioneers, the Tracy Brooks, and then all the other original knockouts that came in 2007. The beautiful people and the ODB and Awesome Kong and all of them that contributed to make TNA the knockout kind of a destination for women to want to come compete. That's probably the biggest difference. But the hard work and the strength of our locker room, that's been the same. Only the faces and the names have changed.
You know, I'd have to assume in 2003 walking in, you're in there with a bunch of legends of the business, some with welcome arms, some with not welcome arms. Now being that veteran in the locker room, what's it like for you to now be able to help these young guys and girls navigate their careers and try to elevate them to be talked about in the same light as yourself and Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles?
It's cool. That's what I always aspired to be. I always wanted to be a guy that left the business in a place better than he found it. And I was very fortunate to have mentors. Killer Kowalski, my trainer, first and foremost. But when you talk about guys like Jerry Lenz and Chris Daniels early on, Raven, Shane Douglas, guys that took time to mentor and help me and kind of guide me, just out of the goodness of their heart and for the sake of the business being better and me being better. Same to be said for Bully Ray and Christian Cage and these guys that really took the time out to help mold me into the wrestler I would become. It's cool now to be in that position, to be the guy that can help a younger guy just by being in the ring with him and help guide him and polish him a little bit. That's the centrifugal nature of pro wrestling, which is so cool. I'm in a position now to do what somebody did for me beforehand, and that person then down the road will do that for a young, deserving pro wrestler. And that's kind of the lifeblood of what our business is at its core.
You know, you was one of the first to make the crossover from TNA to NXT. Is that something like being an original that you ever saw happening? And what was that experience like those first couple times going to NXT and just being under a WWE umbrella as well as the TNA umbrella?
Certainly nothing I would have thought would happen because if anybody that's been a wrestling fan for the last decade or beyond that knows that each company used to be there was a time where every company was very closed off, and not only would you not see any other wrestlers from a different promotion, you would not they would not even be spoken of. The fact that we have this relationship and the fact that starting with Jordan Grace debuting at the Rumble and the stuff that Joe Henry's done, myself, and a whole plethora of people going back and forth. We're living in a day and age where it's Marvel and DC coming together, and as a wrestling fan, it's really really cool because again, this is something that's new. This is something that 5 years ago would not have happened, but we're living it. We're in uncharted waters, and it's really cool and it's exciting because you never know what's going to happen on our show on NXT. You never know who's going to show up where, and wrestling thrives on that element of surprise, and we really have that as a added added tool to what we present right now.
Who is somebody on that current TNA roster that maybe you haven't got the chance to work with, but you got your eye on them?
I mean, I've had the chance to wrestle a lot of people. I mean, there's like a young Leon Slater. I've been in the ring with him. He's incredible. His future is very bright. Nick Nemeth. Nick Nemeth is a guy that we've only had one singles match since he's been here. Certainly, would like to do that dance again. Uh, when you talk about never, somebody like a Mustafa Ali. Our paths have yet to have crossed, but I'm sure that day is going to come. But um, I'm looking to answer the bell against anybody in this company or any other company, and I'm ready to bring the fight to whoever. But uh, our roster is so stacked. I have confidence that anybody put in front of me, we're gonna have a great one.
So recently in the news, AJ Styles made an appearance at Slammiversary. It's heavily rumored that he might be in his last year or so of his career. You guys have such a history. You guys have gone on record to even say you're friends outside of the business. Is he somebody you'd like to at least have one more match against if it was possible?
100% yes. Yeah, we've been very very close friends for decades. He was at my wedding party. We're very good friends, and it just so happens he's also one of the best wrestlers on planet Earth. And to see what he's done with the WWE over the last decade has made me very proud. And yeah, if I've heard those same rumors, and if that is true, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the match happens. But if you ask me, it has to happen one last time, and I would love for it to happen in the TNA ring. I think it would be a very cool moment for him, certainly for me, and definitely for our TNA fans.
Absolutely. You're a 25-year veteran of this sport. It just has to lead into questions like, how long do you believe you have left in the ring?
I feel better than I did when I was 25. I feel
Love
like I'm
it.
doing the best work of my career. I know we all have a shelf life, but I don't see the end anytime soon. I'm very much enjoying what I do in the ring. I think I have a lot left in the tank. And I think I'm still performing at the top level. I'm not, when I start performing as a parody of Frankie Kazarian, that's when I'll consider, kind of riding off into the sunset. But as of right now, I'm very, very confident in that ring. I'm having the most fun of my career, and I think I have a lot more to contribute. And until all those things aren't true, that's when I will, you know, humbly bow out.
The one title that's eluded you throughout your career is that TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Is that something you still have your eye on and that you have, as the king of TNA, that's the one thing that would cement that legacy?
That is the thing I had my eye on, and I've said I've said as such when I returned here in January 2023 that that is my goal, that is my purpose, and I've gone on record as saying it's my time to be selfish, and that is certainly in my crosshairs, and it is the thing I need to accomplish in this company. I've pretty much done everything else, but that is the goal, and I want to be the guy that leads this company onto bigger and better things as the TNA World Champion. And my story will be told until I get there.
Of course. So, like something that's interested me, especially amongst TNA alumni, a lot of them have gone on like Abyss or Bobby Roode to become agents and producers. Is that something once it's time to hang the boots up that you've considered maybe going into an agent role or a producer role?
That's certainly something that's thought of. I mean, because so many guys do it now. I don't know if I'm necessarily wired that way. I and tremendous amount of respect. Those guys are both my friends. And in addition to both of those dudes being great wrestlers, they're, from what I understand, incredible producers as well. And that's no surprise to me because they're both brilliant guys when it comes to that, the nuts and bolts of what we do. Um, I was always somebody that wanted to be a wrestler. I didn't think of anything beyond that, and always thought when my time was done to just wander off and disappear in the desert. Nobody would hear from me again. And part of me still kind of like fantasizes about that. But there are aspects of this business that I enjoy. Would I enjoy being a producer? Potentially. Certainly, I've dipped my toes into the waters of doing commentary, and I have a lot of fun doing that. So that's something maybe to consider. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, right, certainly those are maybe fleeting thoughts, but right now my focus is the in ring, and it's going to be for the conceivable future. So once I'll jump off that bridge when I come to it, I guess.
Sounds like a plan. Frankie, one last question, then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Everybody tends to have a Mount Rushmore, and I see a lot of you TNA originals going on podcasts, and they just ask the generic, "What's your TNA Mount Rushmore?" That'd be different. The X Division has had all the talent in the world. You are one. You have to be ahead on its Mount Rushmore, but in your opinion, who is the X Division's Mount Rushmore?
I'm okay. If I pick the X Division's Mount Rushmore, I'm not going to include myself. If people want to put me up there, uh, I'm very honored and very humbled that they think that way. Have I done enough to get up there? Possibly. It's all open to an interpretation, and it's all Uh, but if I'm going to I can't give my Mount Rushmore with put my head on there. So I'll just preface that with that. I mean, you got AJ Styles has to be up there, obviously. Um, Amazing Red has to be up there. And we're talking just X Division, correct? Not TNA guys, just X Division guys.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, so I won't put Samoa Joe up there because he's so much more than an X Division guy. So is AJ, but we're talking about the face. So AJ Styles, Amazing Red, Jerry Lynn, Christopher Daniels.
Perfect. Frankie,
That's it.
thank you so much. I appreciate this. Thank you for joining us on the I Love Wrestling podcast, and hopefully we can have another one.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the time.
You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
See ya. Likewise, buddy. Take care.